Turmeric has been called the golden root of immortality, celebrated for thousands of years, honored in ancient healing traditions, and now validated by modern science for its extraordinary anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and cellular protective power. People over 60 reach for it with hope. Hope for stronger joints, sharper memory, calmer inflammation, better immunity, and slower aging. But what almost no one realizes is that even the most powerful foods can become biologically misleading when paired with the wrong companions. Certain combinations don't just weaken turmeric. They can work directly against your biology, igniting inflammation instead of soothing it, increasing toxin load instead of clearing it, accelerating cellular stress instead of rewinding it. The truth is simple. Your body is not a machine, it is a symphony. Everything you eat either harmonizes with the rhythm of your cells or disrupts it. After 60, when the body is already fighting harder to repair DNA breaks, restore mitochondrial energy, and preserve cognitive clarity, the wrong food combinations can interfere with the very pathways turmeric is trying to support. And in a body that is older, slower, and more vulnerable to oxidative injury, that interference becomes amplified. Turmeric is powerful, but only when you understand how it truly works. Because turmeric's strength doesn't come from the root alone. It comes from a single molecule inside it, curcumin. This compound is small, vibrant, and astonishingly potent, but also fragile. Curcumin is a warrior, yes, but a delicate one. It activates sirtuins, the longevity proteins that defend your DNA. It supports mitochondria, the power plants inside your cells that dim with age. It lowers chronic inflammation, the invisible fire that erodes your joints, your memory, your heart, your independence. But curcumin is also sensitive to pH, to temperature, to certain fats, to metals, to the molecular environment surrounding it. One wrong combination, and you're not supporting your biology, you're stressing it. This is the story most people never hear. The story of how the right molecule becomes the wrong signal, how a healing compound becomes a burden, how your cells already working harder than ever after 60 can't process the conflicting instructions you unknowingly feed them. People think of food as simple. It is not simple. It is information. It rewires gene expression. It influences inflammation cascades. It shifts your microbiome, the living ecosystem inside your gut that controls immunity, mood, and inflammation. Every meal is a message. And turmeric, when miscombined, sends a message your older cells cannot decipher. This is why doctors and longevity researchers warn you about hidden nutritional interactions. Not because turmeric is bad, not because you should stop using it, but because your body deserves the clarity to use its full power. Because after 60, the stakes are different. Your body fights harder against oxidative stress than it did at 20. Your mitochondria lose efficiency, your sirtuins slow down, your repair enzymes become more selective, and your immune system becomes more easily overwhelmed. In youth, mistakes are forgiven. In later years, they are magnified. And this is where the danger lies, not in turmeric itself, but in the three foods that interfere with its biology in ways most people never see coming. These foods can trap curcumin, in forms your body cannot absorb. They can convert it into metabolites that increase inflammation instead of reducing it. They can disrupt its antioxidant potential and amplify oxidative load right when you are trying to lower it. Some of these foods interact with liver enzymes that detoxify your bloodstream. Others destabilize curcumin's molecular structure. Others create compounds that compete with curcumin, blocking its entry into your cells. When you are over 60, your detoxification pathways are already slower. Your inflammation baseline is higher. Your cellular repair systems are more easily disrupted. So when turmeric collides with these incompatible foods, your body is forced into conflict, trying to use a healing compound while simultaneously trying to defend against the harmful byproducts of the combination. And while you believe you are supporting longevity, you may unknowingly be adding stress to a system already working at maximum effort. This is the moment where science becomes revelation. Because aging is not simply the passing of time, it is the gradual accumulation of unhealed cellular injury. It is the body fighting every day to stay ahead of entropy. And nutrition, when done right, becomes the most powerful lever you can pull. Not supplements, not shortcuts, but giving your cells conditions that reduce stress, clear damage, and elevate energy. Turmeric is one of nature's oldest tools for this purpose. but only when the environment around it supports its mission. Only when your meal becomes a coherent message instead of a biochemical contradiction. Only when you understand that longevity is not about adding more, it is about aligning more. Aligning what you eat with how your body heals. Aligning your choices with the science of aging. Aligning your intention to live longer with the molecular reality inside your cells. This is why the wrong combinations matter, because turmeric is trying to help you. Your biology wants to heal, your cells want to repair, your mitochondria want to restore energy, and after 60, when every choice has greater impact, the combinations you choose determine whether turmeric becomes medicine or misfire. The body after 60 is a landscape shaped by decades of choices, injuries, repairs, triumphs, and stresses, a terrain where every pathway has a history. When turmeric enters this landscape, it brings with it a message of renewal, urging your cells to awaken dormant healing systems, quiet inflammatory noise, and stabilize the delicate balance between damage and repair. But when paired with foods that destabilize its chemistry, this message becomes distorted. The harmony breaks. What should be a clean signal becomes interference, static, confusion. Inside your gut, everything begins with absorption. Curcumin is notoriously difficult for the body to pull into the bloodstream. Its structure resists water, resists heat, resists breakdown. The right environment unlocks it. The wrong environment traps it. Foods that create excessive acidity block curcumin's transition into the small intestine. Foods rich in certain unstable oils cause curcumin to oxidize before it can be absorbed, turning a powerful antioxidant into a weakened version of itself. And foods that interfere with detox enzymes force the liver to prioritize clearing other compounds first, leaving curcumin waiting, breaking down, or converting into forms that no longer help the body. This biological choreography is happening whether you sense it or not, and with age, every step matters more. The machinery inside you becomes subtle, slower, more sensitive. Your mitochondria, once vibrant engines producing clean energy, now flicker under the weight of decades of oxidative stress. They no longer tolerate biochemical chaos. They need clarity, simplicity, and balance. When incompatible foods collide with turmeric, the oxidative load rises. Mitochondria sense it instantly. They respond by lowering energy output, hunkering down in protective mode, shifting from growth to survival. You may feel this as sluggishness, mental fog, joint stiffness, or that heavy sense of inflammation you can't quite describe. Turmeric was supposed to help you avoid that, but the wrong combinations reverse its intention. In the realm of longevity, everything is about signals. You are constantly sending messages to your body: grow or decline, repair or ignore, strengthen or weaken, regenerate or decay. Food is one of the strongest signals you have. And turmeric, when used correctly, activates the very pathways that keep you alive longer: sirtuins, AMPK, antioxidant systems, DNA repair mechanisms. These are the guardians of longevity, the same pathways that Dr. Sinclair and researchers around the world study tirelessly, because they hold the key to extending health span, not just lifespan. But when turmeric is combined with certain incompatible foods, these pathways are forced into conflict. Curcumin becomes bound to molecules that block its entry into the bloodstream. Inflammatory compounds produced from reheated oils, preserved meats, or certain food additives collide with your detox system, demanding priority. Curcumin is left stranded, unable to reach your tissues, unable to activate sirtuins, unable to fulfill its role. The body is left fighting two battles instead of one, fending off the harmful components of the combination, while simultaneously trying to extract benefit from turmeric's fragile gift. It becomes a tug-of-war inside your biology. And after 60, your body no longer has extra resources to waste on unnecessary battles. It is trying to conserve energy, not squander it. Trying to reduce inflammation, not ignite it. Trying to heal DNA damage faster than time accumulates it. The more friction you create with the wrong combinations, the faster aging accelerates. This is when people begin to feel that downward shift they often blame on just getting older. The more frequent joint pain, the slower recovery, the stubborn inflammation, the stubborn weight, the cloudy thinking. But age is not the enemy. It is vulnerability paired with the wrong choices. When turmeric collides with incompatible foods, inflammation spikes and cellular stress rises. When inflammation rises, mitochondria falter. When mitochondria falter, everything feels heavier. Imagine your cells like small universes, each one carrying its own responsibilities. Repair DNA, produce energy, clear toxins, regulate inflammation. When the wrong food combinations enter the system, these universes are thrown out of sync. They divert energy away from deep repair toward emergency responses. And in doing so, they accelerate the very aging process turmeric is supposed to counteract. Yet the body is not fragile, it is responsive. It listens, it adapts, it learns. And when you remove the conflicting foods, when you give turmeric the pure environment it requires, something extraordinary happens. The inflammation begins to quiet. The mitochondria begin to strengthen. The cells begin to restore their rhythm. Curcumin activates longevity genes again. Repair systems come back online. It's not magic, it's biology given space to breathe. Longevity is never about one food, one supplement, or one hack. It is about reducing internal friction so the body can operate at full capacity. After 60, this becomes a necessity, not a choice. Your body still has extraordinary potential to heal, regenerate, and strengthen, but only if the signals you send it are clear, aligned, and supportive. And turmeric, in the right combinations, becomes one of those signals, a signal of renewal, a signal of resilience, a signal that tells the body, keep going, repair deeper, slow the clock. The body listens most closely in the quiet moments, those ordinary moments when you sit down, to eat without thinking, when your cells are preparing to absorb whatever instructions you send them. And turmeric, when given the right environment, becomes more than a spice. It becomes a messenger of stability for a body that has weathered decades of storms. But the foods that conflict with its chemistry turn that message into noise, and the older the body becomes, the less tolerance it has for noise. One of the greatest biological challenges after 60 is maintaining balance, metabolic balance, inflammatory balance, hormonal balance. Your cells work constantly to keep internal conditions stable, despite external pressures. This stability is known as homeostasis, and it becomes more fragile with age. Turmeric is one of the compounds that supports this delicate balance by calming immune overreaction, reducing oxidative stress, and stabilizing blood sugar and cholesterol levels. But when it binds with foods that disrupt digestion or destabilize its structure, homeostasis is shaken. This internal shaking increases oxidative stress, forcing your cells to compensate, often at the expense of long-term repair. Inside your gut, the microbiome acts as the first interpreter of turmeric's message. These trillions of bacteria break down curcumin, modify it, and help deliver it to the bloodstream. They depend on consistency, stable fiber intake, stable pH, stable inflammatory environment. But the wrong food combinations create chaos. Certain acids thrown into the gut from preserved foods, fried meals, or ultra-processed ingredients disrupt microbial communities. When that microbiome shifts, the enzymes that unlock curcumin's full power no longer work efficiently. The message becomes blocked. The benefit becomes diluted. This disruption is felt most profoundly in a body over 60 because microbiome diversity naturally shrinks with age. Every choice you make can either protect the remaining diversity or accelerate its loss. When the microbiome struggles, inflammation rises. When inflammation rises, aging accelerates. And when turmeric is unable to counter this rise, because its companions have neutralized it, you feel the consequences not in a dramatic moment, but in the quiet erosion of energy, clarity, and resilience. Your blood vessels feel it first. Turmeric normally supports endothelia, the thin, fragile lining of your arteries and veins. These cells regulate blood flow, oxygen delivery, and even inflammation signals. But when the foods paired with turmeric generate oxidation, advanced glycation products, or inflammatory molecules, that delicate lining becomes irritated. Instead of moving into repair mode, the vessels tighten. Circulation declines. The very pathways turmeric is meant to heal become stressed, stiff, and reactive. The brain feels it next. Curcumin is one of the few natural compounds shown to cross the blood-brain barrier, where it protects neurons from inflammation and oxidative injury. But when incompatible foods elevate blood sugar spikes, inflammatory compounds, or lipid oxidation, the brain's protective barrier becomes more selective. Curcumin's entry becomes restricted. The brain enters a defensive state, focusing on shielding itself rather than repairing. Subtle cognitive symptoms begin: slower recall, less mental sharpness, scattered focus. Not because turmeric failed, but because its message never reached the destination. And then there is the liver, the organ that carries the weight of every biochemical choice you make. It detoxifies, processes fats, filters toxins, regulates hormones, and manages energy storage. But after 60, the liver becomes more sensitive to dietary stress. Turmeric supports the liver by lowering inflammatory signaling pathways like NF-kappa and reducing the burden of oxidative free radicals. Yet certain foods, especially those rich in unstable fats, nitrates, or synthetic preservatives, can overwhelm these same detox pathways. When the liver must prioritize clearing those compounds, curcumin is pushed aside. It breaks down too early, never activating the longevity pathways it was meant to stimulate. This story repeats across the body, a healing compound, interrupted by conflicting signals, a message lost in translation. But the deeper truth is even more powerful. Your biology is always listening, always adapting, and always ready to shift the moment you remove the sources of conflict. Longevity is not a miracle, it is alignment. When you give your body clarity, it responds with abundance. Turmeric, in its pure, unhindered form, supports the same pathways that researchers believe are essential for slowing aging, pathways related to cellular housekeeping, DNA repair, and metabolic balance. It calms chronic inflammation, the silent accelerant behind heart disease, dementia, diabetes, and joint degeneration. It protects proteins from misfolding, a process at the root of neurodegenerative decline. It stabilizes blood sugar, reducing the long-term damage that comes from metabolic strain. But it cannot perform these functions when entangled with foods that disrupt its chemistry. This is why understanding these combinations becomes essential, not optional. After 60. At this stage of life, your choices become magnified because your biological resilience, while still powerful, must be protected. When turmeric is paired with foods that enhance its strength, your cells receive a clear call to repair. When turmeric is paired with foods that conflict with it, your cells receive confusion, and confusion at the cellular level becomes aging at the human level. Yet the body never stops fighting for you, even when the wrong combinations create friction. Your cells keep searching for balance. Your mitochondria keep generating energy. Your immune system keeps scanning for threats. All it takes is removing the interference. All it takes is aligning the message. And when turmeric is finally given the clean environment it requires, something begins to shift. The inflammation that once weighed on your joints lightens. The energy that once flickered grows steadier. The clarity returning to your mind feels less like escape and more like memory, like the body remembering how to heal the way it was designed to heal. Because the truth is that the body listens. It adapts. It rebuilds itself according to the signals you send. And every choice you make, every bite, every night of sleep, every moment of stress, every breath you take, is a signal, a command, a vote for the future version of you. And when you understand this, turmeric becomes more than a spice. It becomes a messenger, a molecular whisper to your cells saying, stay young, stay sharp, stay alive. But even the greatest messenger can be drowned out when the environment is wrong, when the plate is chaotic, when the body is inflamed, when aging pathways shout louder than healing ones. And this is why pairing turmeric with the wrong foods doesn't just reduce its power. It can push the body in the opposite direction. It can blunt inflammation control, overwhelm detoxification, hijack glucose metabolism, and disrupt the delicate symphony your longevity genes depend on. Yet the real story isn't about turmeric. It's about the deeper truth underneath it, that your biology is programmable, that aging is not a slow collapse but a negotiation, one you can influence, one you can shift, one you can win, even after 60, even after decades of habits that weren't perfect. Because the body is always listening, always ready to respond to better input. When you remove the foods that suffocate turmeric's benefits, processed trans fats that choke mitochondrial energy production, refined sugars that ignite glycation like sparks on dry grass, and aluminum-heavy leftovers that accumulate silent oxidative stress, you aren't just protecting a spice, you're opening the channel through which healing signals travel. You're removing interference from the communication line between what you eat and who you become at a cellular level. And once that line is clear, something extraordinary begins to happen. Inflammation quiets, mitochondria start producing cleaner energy, glucose becomes steadier, sirtuins awaken, the same longevity regulators Dr. Sinclair has spent decades studying. They switch on repair genes, tighten the structure of DNA, and help keep your cells acting young even as the years rise. Hormesis, microstress from diet, movement, temperature, fasting, begins shaping you into a more resilient organism. Sleep deepens, repair accelerates, the body takes a breath it didn't know it had been holding. This is what true aging control feels like. Not a miracle pill, not a single superfood, but a shift, a deliberate, disciplined, intentional shift in the rhythm of your life. And turmeric, used wisely, becomes one piece of a much larger mosaic. A reminder that small inputs matter, that the body is constantly decoding signals you don't realize you're sending, and that even at 60, 70, or 80, your biology is not fixed. It's listening, it's adapting, it's waiting for your leadership. The world will tell you aging is a clock, a countdown, a surrender. But biology tells a different story. Aging is information loss, miscommunication, noise in the system. And every day you reduce the noise, every day you choose foods that lower inflammation rather than feed it, habits that stabilize glucose rather than spike it, rhythms that support circadian repair rather than disrupt it, you restore that information. A little bit at a time. Quiet repair, silent improvement, invisible progress, until the day it becomes visible. You wake up with more clarity, more energy, less stiffness, you recover faster. Your appetite stabilizes. You feel younger than the number on your ID. And this happens not because of turmeric alone, but because of everything it represents. Consistency, discipline, biological respect, a refusal to surrender your future to convenience, marketing, or old habits. And once you feel that shift, once you feel your body respond, rebuild, and strengthen, something powerful changes inside you. You stop seeing health as maintenance. You start seeing it as potential, as possibility, as a path you can walk with intention, a path where every decision matters, a path where lifespan and healthspan are no longer passive outcomes but active creations. Because what Dr. Sinclair's research shows again and again is this: aging is malleable, healing is possible. Longevity is not a luxury for the genetically gifted. It's a reward for those who pay attention, those who take ownership, those who treat their body not as a burden, but as a piece of evolving biological technology that can be upgraded through daily choices. And tonight, when you stand in your kitchen deciding what to eat, this knowledge stays with you. You'll remember that turmeric is powerful, but only when it's respected, only when it's paired with foods that let its message travel, only when you remove the obstacles that silence its voice. You'll remember that your cells are listening, that your future self is being built in real time, that your age is not the end of the story but the beginning of a new one. And in that moment, the moment you choose intentionally, you reclaim control of something most people lose without realizing: the direction of your life's timeline, not by chasing miracles, not by avoiding aging, but by shaping it one choice at a time, one signal at a time, one meal, one habit, one day at a time. And that is how you don't just live longer, you live younger.